Hello, this is MasterHun, and today I am going to talk a little bit about classes and object-oriented programming, which I think you could say sits on top of or builds upon what I normally call functional programming. Also, imperative and procedural programming, which are supposed to be different, but I kind of lump it all. I lump it all together as functional programming, which is what I learned in college in ancient history, in the first half of the 90s. So, object-oriented programming, obviously, it's all about objects, as opposed to functional programming, where it's all about functions. Simple enough. But in order to get the objects, we need to create the classes. So what is a class? A class is rather complicated, but let me simplify. You can think of it as a blueprint, or you could think of it as a factory. The class is the blueprint we use to create objects, and the objects are the entities inside the program that actually do all the work. Or you could think of a class as a factory. And what's the job of the factory? The job of the factory is to make objects. Again, objects which end up doing all the work. So if we think of the analogy of a blueprint, is the blueprint to build a bridge the bridge? Of course not. The blueprint for the bridge is just paper and ink. You wouldn't drive your car over the blueprint in order to cross a river or a huge, vast gap. You need the blueprint. The blueprint is very necessary because without the blueprint, you can't build a bridge. And you wouldn't want to build a bridge without a blueprint, because that bridge is probably going to fall on itself. Not a good thing to happen. If you think of a class as a factory, then you might want to think of a car factory. Where do cars come from? Most cars are not handmade. A few are, but they're very expensive. The car that you can afford to drive will be one that's made in a factory. So try to think of the factory as the class. The cars are the objects that actually take you from point A to point B. From home to school and school back to home, or from home to work and back home. The car factory doesn't take you to the school or to work or anywhere else. It's just a factory. But without the car factory, you wouldn't have the car. So classes and objects are both important. You need the class to make the objects. But you can't have classes without objects, because classes don't do the work. They help you make the objects. The objects are the entities that actually do the work. So, given that, how do you create a class in Python? Well, you have to use the class keyword. In this example, we have a class, the cat class. And the cat has, as we can see, it has color and legs. How do we create a cat? First, we need to create the cat class, but we need to call what in other languages would be called a constructor. So we need to call the cat constructor, which is very much like a function that you've seen before. So we give it, so the cat has to have a name. So we input the name and the number of legs that it has. And sad to say, Felix and Rover have all 4 legs, but apparently Stumpy does not. Stumpy has not 4, but 3 legs. Quite sad. Okay, let's do a quick review. OOP. OOP stands for Object-Oriented Programming. As opposed to functional programming, OOP, Object-Oriented Programming, is all about objects. But you can't have objects without classes. A good way to think about classes is to imagine a blueprint or a factory. If the bridge is the object, the blueprint to help you build the bridge is the class. If your Toyota Corolla is the object, the Toyota Corolla factory is the class. Now, going back to the example that we have here, we have the cat class, which we created by using the class keyword. And in this cat class, it has 2 attributes, color and legs. In order to create an object, we need to call the cat constructor, which the name of the constructor has the same name as the class, and that is something you need to look for. And in this constructor, we tell it the color of the cat and the number of legs it has. For example, Felix, the cat, has the color ginger and has all 4 legs. But sadly, Stumpy, the cat, is brown but only has 3 legs and not 4. Quite sad. Okay, today was an introduction to OOP using Python, the Python coding language. Thank you very much.